Good Happy New Year to the people watching this on TV. Happy New Year. All right, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
All right, I don't know what happened. I didn't even know it's going to, you know what?
Okay, we'll get into new business. I always like to go between the last meeting and today. I always like to say what's happening. One thing I do not have here on the agenda, but it needs to be recognized because I found out about it yesterday. Tracy, come up here, please. Is Robin Phillips out there? Oh, there she is. I'm sorry, Robin, I didn't see you. Folks, come on up here. Folks, we have a lady here named Tracy Casey. She has done so much for this village as a volunteer. And recently, she had breakfast with Santa down at the senior center with volunteers from this board and the staff and just a lot of people. It happened on December 22nd. Not only was this a tremendous success, I heard this from several parents and grandparents, but she raised, after paying off all the food and everything, $1,140. She told me she was going to donate it to the food pantry, and I said that was cool. But you're going to do it. You're going to do it in front of the public here to see what you did. And you weren't looking for praise.
No.
But you need praise. Now, Robin McPhillips here, I've known him forever. Her kids play baseball and stuff. She is one of the administrators at the food pantry. And tonight, Robin will accept the check from Tracy, and I'm proud of you both. Thank you. This is what we're about.
Oh, sorry. There we go.
Okay.
Perfect.
Thanks, Jay.
Thank you.
Very cool.
Can I
Thank you.
just say a couple of words quick?
Absolutely.
I'm on the board of directors of the pantry, and a very tiny fraction of our operating fund is provided by grants and other such monies. The vast majority of our monies are donated to us by the community, like from people like Tracy. And we never approached her to do this. We're just so very grateful for folks like her that are willing to help us in our mission to feed our community. Thank you very
much.
Well, I could have done it without a lot of help. I didn't do it by myself, that's for sure. Lori Dahl and her husband did all the cooking, which was amazing. Joanne and Bill, I wouldn't have been able to do it without you guys. So it takes a community.
But it took an idea. It took an idea, and you did it.
Yes. Yep, and we're going to do breakfast with Easter Bunny and Easter egg hunt. So that's April 12th. So.
Thank you both. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on, I want to thank the World Humane Society for caroling around the village and the area. They came into Village Hall carrying their furry friends. They came with the cat and they're caroling, and it's really nice. And I hope they got some of these animals adopted. Again, I sound like a broken record here, but I salute Jake and his crew for the outstanding jobs they have been doing with the snowstorms of December 19th, 21st, and the 24th. Darlene and I were right around the entire village during these. We did it 10 o'clock at night the other day. And I'd like to mention particularly December 26th. One of the garbage trucks blew its transmission. It was towed over the freight liner in Mayville. to get repaired. We don't know when it's gonna come back. But these guys didn't miss a beat. They did trash pickup, recycling, and Christmas tree pickup, all in one day with one truck and a bunch of pickup trucks. So, a round of applause for you guys. Sticking on December 26th, I thought I had to close Village Hall because most of the village was out with the flood. I volunteered to come down here and take water bills or whatever, but Treasurer Debbie Delgado and part-time employee Ronnie Ricker came in and they held down the fort. And it's true dedication, and I'm proud of that. I thank you, Director Joanne Corrigan, for showing It's a Wonderful Life at the Senior Center. This and White Christmas are my favorite movies. Let's also remember this, and I'll bring this up several times after. St. Mary's Church is having its 100th blood drive on Monday, January 20th, January 20th, Martin Luther King Day. So most of us will be off from work from 1:30 to 7. I can't donate blood because I just did it, so you have to have a certain amount of time there. All right, effective immediately. Whenever the village has any type of village event where a street is closed, I have directed the Department of Public Works and the Police Department to block entries with a large piece of construction equipment, whether it's a machine or a garbage truck. This is to prevent what's been happening around the nation and the globe, where terrorists or some lone wolf decides he wants to harm people. Not here. Not here. Logistics with the fire department will be worked out at each event. We'll have it all prepared, but it will be by an event basis. Safety is our #1 here. If anybody watched New Orleans, I, as a retired police officer of 42 years, was embarrassed by that. We block off a street with a police car, and then they come out and say, we had a plan, but the terrorists beat us? Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think so. Not with me running here as mayor. It's not going to happen. Effective immediately also, cameras will be installed in and around the Village Hall for the safety of our employees. Look right there. That's what you see when you walk in here. These girls have no idea what's coming through the window. I went to the town yesterday, we met with Steve, we went to a metal detector, we signed in, there were cameras all around, and I couldn't agree with that more. So our employees with these cameras around will be able to spot possible trouble before it appears inside here at the front window. And I'll be looking to provide emergency buttons for our staff in the event of an emergency. What price do you put on safety? And my last thing here is from the planning board. I've had several conversations with Chairperson Amy Frisbee, Kevin Canero, in reference to this water. The KSH development has come to the board. It's come to the mayor and the board here. Now we address it. From what I see, this seems to be backwards from other municipalities. The planning board has approvals first, or does the approvals, but here the village board does it. So if it's on my watch, this is what I feel. I've been discussing these issues over the holidays with friends who are in this field of work. This village has spent an incredible amount of taxpayer money on a possible development, on a piece of privately owned property, conducting noise tests, buffer tests, lighting, traffic studies, and now a water table pollution studies. #1 is get the water table approvals through. The New York State Department of Environmental Conservation, they're responsible for protecting the water table. This should not be a fight between the developer and the village taxpayer. Would we be afforded these opportunities as homeowners? Would we be able to get away with this? No. That development is nothing more than a homeowner or a vacant piece of land. Why are we spending money on this? As far as I'm concerned, as the mayor, stop the bleeding. Once New York State gives you the approval, then come back. Enough spending. Example, Orange County had no problem with cause shutting this village down and having a moratorium because we didn't have an adequate water supply. Get the state approval and we'll talk. Right now, it's like buying furniture for a house that hasn't even been approved. We should not entertain these back and forth studies between developers and village taxpayers. It's gonna go on and on and on and on and on. Who's got the deeper pockets? A water table does not know man-made limits or boundaries. It knows Mother Nature. And I'm not signing anything without New York State Department of Environmental Conservation certified approval. God forbid something happens and a leakage goes into the Walk Hill River and affects communities all the way up to Kingston because the Walk Hill River flows north. I will not put this village in that position. Not to mention what it could do to our residents and their health and our village. Kevin Canero and Amy Frisbee have set up a meeting with our water consultants on January 15th. This cannot continue. It's like the song that never ends at the taxpayer's expense. And if there's problems, let the lawyers handle it. Thank you. We go further from here. We adopt a resolution approving the election resolution. Adopt a resolution approving the election resolution for the village elections for our offices to be held on March 18th, 2025. Make a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Adopt a resolution to update approved signers for the Village of Montgomery bank accounts. And that would be, Darlene, you can read that off, please? I got it somewhere. Oh, me, Darlene and Dulce, Deputy Mayor, Tina Murphy, Village Clerk, Debbie Delgado, Treasurer, and Heather Mears, Deputy Treasurer. We had the changes around, there were other names on there that aren't here anymore. Make a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Reminder that water and sewer bills are due January 16, 2025, by the close of business day, 4:30 p.m. without a penalty. Thank you.
Mayor,
Reports?
before
I'm sorry,
before we go on
sorry.
to reports, we just, Ronnie Frisbee, our planning board chairperson, handed us a document from our water consultant. And he would like to, I'll just read it, so the board, I gave a copy to all the board members, but I'll read it for the public as well. As requested, I'm providing a cost estimate for the scope of work outlined by our engineer, an estimate of hours, including building rates that would be needed to prepare for and attend initial meetings with both the village board and the planning board to discuss and review the KSH report prepared by WSP, including any additional testing and or mitigation that could be proposed by the village related to the project. And here's another part of this. Additionally, during the meeting as requested, WSP will also discuss the aquifer protection strategies for the village to enhance well field protection, as well as bringing new wells into service, like we spoke about during the lane wells. The WSP will provide an area of what the timeline and related costs will be to implement the proposed aquifer protection strategies. And Mark, you talked about a CEA. In addition to the WSP, will provide preliminary costs to develop the channeling well field, which is helpful. The cost estimate to prepare and attend the meeting is estimated at $1,900. And wanted to add it to the agenda because it was a last minute thing, but I'd like the board's consideration to approve this $1,900 for our hydrogeologist expertise in our meetings and how we're going to move forward.
Not completely, just to make the distinction, this is not all about KSH. This is about the strategies for the village itself, which is a distinction that's important in light of what you mentioned earlier. So in speaking with our folks here, I think if you wanted to add anything, I think this is a worthwhile expenditure and something that's necessary for the village itself, not in conjunction with any particular project.
Yeah, we spoke here.
I just want to make that distinction based on your comments earlier, so everyone's clear on what we're doing, or what we're proposing.
No, I think Will represented it accurately. That this is about the future development and protection of our water supply in the village, and you know the appropriate costs around the applicant from all of their mitigation and additional testing. Those costs are appropriately going back to the applicant as they would in any other project. This is more so to bring the board up to speed because you are involved in the application process from a planning perspective, as well as the future from an aquifer protection. As you know, the study that you all received definitely showed that there could be impact and would be impact to our aquifer on this site.
Now, let me put you both on the spot here. What would be the reason not to do it?
To hire the consultant?
No, not to do what you're doing here.
Well, first of all, we want to create
But what
a
would be a
wellhead
reason not to
protection
do it?
area. There is no reason.
There is no.
And there you go. I make a motion to do this?
I have a question.
How about we second for discussion? And then,
Okay, I'll make the motion.
well, the mayor made the motion, you
I'll
can
second
second
it.
for discussion and let it go.
When is the meeting, virtual or hybrid or in person?
We're pending confirmation from Tom, but it appears there's a meeting already scheduled for the 15th, so we're hoping to tack it on to that. And he will be attending virtually. I don't know if you.
We have a meeting with our other attorney, Joe McKay, and we have him, scheduled to be here on the 15th for two other reasons, client attorney reasons. So we wanted to add this one in as well, and so I'm hoping we can get him in to do that.
I just have to confirm it.
It's the 15th, we're trying.
Yeah, it would be late in the
Yeah,
day, right?
and you should have gotten notification about the meeting, right, on the 15th at 4?
Me, Randy?
Yeah.
No, I have not yet. But I have not set up the new email. So if it went to my new email, I did not get it.
All right, and did Randy, RW?
I got a question. I mean, as I'm reading this, and maybe I'm reading it wrong, it seems as though this is the cost to have them attend that meeting, but it does not mean they're gonna develop a strategy at that meeting.
No, it
Am I missing
further,
something?
it further breaks down what each one of his consultants is gonna be doing, and it gives an estimate of what it is, but, again, I think this $1,900 is well worth, getting the ball rolling, is to, to protect the wellheads, and to also look at this Chandler Lane wells and try to come up with a strategy. Part of my update for the month would then, too, is to come out of the moratorium, we need short and long-term goals. And I talked to the engineer about that, and we're going to develop those short and long-term goals before we come out of the moratorium. So, he's going to help with that as well. And these are the kind of experts we need.
Well, so while this meeting here doesn't necessarily develop the plan, it sets the parameters for and expectations for future development prior to ultimate, okay.
I agree with the need for it. Has anybody inquired with the treasurer what budget line it'll come from? Is it a contingency? Is it in the planning board budget? Is it?
I don't know where it's coming from.
Okay.
Might be coming out of water and sewer.
Yeah.
It might be coming out of water and sewer.
But I think that the cost of $1,900 is well worth the time and, the hours that he's gonna give us. And part of that might be actually because, this consultant kind of mixed the two together, and he really shouldn't have, because he's supposed to be looking at, an applicant's, project versus what we're trying to do. So some of that will be going back to the applicant.
Yeah, I think his mention of the applicant in there is, this all came about because Scott, our engineer, had sent to him the applicant's report, right, for review, and he requested some additional, that cost went back to the applicant, right? So I think it's important to understand the context as to how this all came about and why the impact, and that's, I think, the references to
And
the
you're the
applicant.
chairman of the planning board, and you on it, and I don't like what you guys say.
I'm just a
And all it does is
liaison, so-
protect us.
But again, I
All it's doing
think-
is protecting us.
Mike, I think also too, that, and you can correct me if I'm wrong in this, that, the planning board really processes applicants and their projects, where this is more of a, if we were gonna develop, say, a critical environmental area, it would be more on the legislative side. Right, so the two of them are, we're talking about maybe the same piece of property, or the same aquifer that goes through there, but they are two separate things, and I think that our village board could, look into the aquifer protection and the wellhead protection stuff, and, Amy can continue on with the applicants.
Yeah, because,
We want to keep it separate.
Thank you both.
yeah, obviously the planning board takes a direction from the village board, whatever plans the village board comes up with, whether it's a CEA critical environmental area or just a plan for wellhead and well field protection, and aquifer protection. That's a document that's going to be developed in conjunction with consultants and the engineers and the board. And that's something that is a document that the planning board's going to have for future use, which is quite necessary. So, having said that, that's all I got to say.
Thank you.
So there's a second.
You have a motion.
Make a motion to vote to do this?
No, you have a motion and a
I
second.
have a motion, second, I'm sorry, second.
Randy seconded.
seconded, we need a vote. So call for a vote.
All in favor?
All in favor?
All right. All right, thank you.
Carried.
Thank you, Amy, for bringing it.
All right, the reports, take them on the first.
Yes, so. As you know, like I said, we have garbage truck down, doing the best we can, a little behind schedule with garbage. Tomorrow recycling, same thing, probably gonna be a little bit behind. Just ask the people, you know, we're doing the best we can with what we got. I didn't get a quote yet on what it's gonna cost to fix it. I did find a garbage truck that is ready to go, brand new. Just waiting for specs on that, price, look into it, see if we're better off, just maybe going that route.
Well, what year is the one that broke?
That's the 2006. So it served its purpose. It served its purpose. Yeah, so,
Wow,
yeah, so
thank you for keeping it running.
we'll see, you know, we'll see what he comes back with, price and stuff, and
Did you get a price, Jake, on state bid, or?
I don't know yet. He's just getting the final specs together and all that stuff.
Who's he?
John Reed,
Okay.
we've dealt with him many times. We bought, our last couple dump trucks from him.
It's either gotta be state bid, or we have to piggyback off another contract.
Exactly, yeah. We're not that far yet, so this is just something I'm looking into and try to see which direction that we're better off going.
Is the chipper fixed?
Tripper is fixed, yes. They've been chipping Christmas trees like crazy.
I know I'd like to lodge a complaint that the recycling came too early right after Christmas. It was not yet up and did not do my recycling.
That's why it's supposed to be out at 7 o'clock, Randy.
I slept on that one.
Yes, we had to do things different that day, so.
Wow. I heard it. I was like, oh. But, no, great job.
But other than that, you know, that's really the only thing.
You think you'll have the information by the next meeting?
What's that?
On the new truck, you think you'd have information by the next meeting, 2 weeks?
I should have something.
Okay.
Hopefully, yeah. Hopefully I'll have a quote on what it's gonna cost to fix the one.
Okay.
And, yeah,
Thank you, Jay.
you're welcome.
Joanne?
I have to give a huge thank you to Deb in New Windsor, who generously donated a huge supply of, art supplies. So we've got a lot. So their ideas are bouncing, I've been bouncing ideas off of Tracy. So we've got a bunch of ideas that we're gonna be able to use that. I've got a closet full.
Nice.
New Tai Chi beginner class started last Thursday. That went well. It's a little slow. It was right after the new year, so she's picking up. I did a new chair Pilates class today. Doing a video just to see if there was interest. Very interested. I've already contacted an instructor that I had spoke with briefly, waiting for her to get back to me on doing, like having an instructor instead of doing the video. They'd rather have the instructor. I'm gonna do another movie. Not sure when. I'm gonna decide what kind of mood we're in the end of the month, maybe throw one in. And I know everybody's excited, but I'm in the process of booking their first trip. Hopefully I can hear back from them before the end of the week, and I can have the bus booked by next week. And they'll be out in March.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Bill? And Joe?
Thanks, Joanne.
Thank you.
So just, business as normal has been going on. We had a lot of the good holiday events, wonderful, going off without a hitch, great participation from all of the residents. I'm expecting some big things to come about within the coming new year for the Village of Montgomery Police Department. So there never seems to be a right time to say things. So I will start off with this. Mayor Hembury, members of the village board, pains me to formally notify you of my decision to retire from the position as chief of police for the village of Montgomery. After a rewarding 32-year career in law enforcement, with the last 12 years serving double duty with my full-time position with the village of Walden, the last 5 years serving both as the village of Walden police chief and the village of Montgomery police chief, I've decided it's time to close this chapter and move forward to new endeavors. I have not selected an official date of retirement yet to make sure that we smoothly transition to the new police chief, whoever that may be, but I want to assure you that I will make every effort to ensure a smooth and seamless transition to the next chief of police. I'm still committed to supporting the department staff and the leadership during this time to maintain the high standard of service our community deserves. It has been my honor and privilege to serve the village of Montgomery. I'm deeply grateful for the trust and support you have shown throughout my tenure. Please let me know however I can assist during this transition.
I'd like to thank you. Further state that I've known Bill when I was on the police department for years. He's very well respected. He was picked not so much by the village board and by Mayor Brusha. He was picked because his own guys wanted him. He was the second in charge, and Steve and I and Darlene, we all sat and talked about this, and the guys wanted him. So we didn't go outside the department. And with that, when Bill leaves, we are not going outside the department. Rich, is Joe out there? Yeah. Joe? Hey, Mike. Joe will be the acting chief.
Whoa. And Joe, with Bill's advice, again, I didn't like politicians getting involved in police work when I was a cop. With Bill's advice, we are looking to make Joe a full-time police officer, a full-time police chief, because this village needs a full-time police chief. People may say, how's this going to be paid for? We're going to take Bill's salary and put it on top of Joe. So it's not going to change, but we're going to have a full-time police chief here. Now, that doesn't take away from Bill being a part-time police chief, because he was always available. And I go back to what I just said. His guys recommended him. We didn't just look and go, yeah, this guy looks good, this guy looks good. His guys recommended him. So you should be proud of that. I'm proud of you, I'm proud of all you did here, and I'm proud of you going to be taking over. So congratulations on you. All reports, so we did that. The events, January.
The trustees report.
What about the 20th? The village offices will be closed?
No, right before that.
Okay. All right, what
So
else?
I'm sure Randy will have something to
So you
say.
guys got something to say? Put them on, for the seniority, first year, and then tenure. Okay. Want me to go first, or you go last? She's got seniority. That's the way it is.
Okay, so I would like to make a motion that we formally add old business to every agenda. I'm wondering if maybe I could get a second on that. There seems to be a list of things that we have touched on, whether one of the trustees has brought it up, or it's an idea that's shot around to a different department, or one of the residents has brought something up and it seems to get lost and doesn't always get solved. So I do have a list of examples of things and dates that they were brought up. My biggest issues would be the inventory and written procedure, such as the village handbook, and a few other miscellaneous items. I'm willing to go into that further if everybody needs a little bit more information before someone would like to second it, but I think it's best practice. I think it's good policy. It's something that most other boards always have on the agenda. It keeps things clean, it keeps everyone on the same page, and we always had it prior to this, so I'm hoping that we can add it back. So I'd like to make a motion to formally add the old business on the village agenda for every meeting.
Well, I would ask, how do we determine what old business is relevant and worthy of being reconsidered? You know, we know there are questions such as potholes or traffic or things of that nature which don't have a readily available answer or solution. So my concern would be that we don't bog the board down with rehashing the same things that we all know are there that we'd love to solve, but just don't have. So what would be the policy or the procedure for establishing that criteria?
I agree. I think if a resident asks a question or if a trustee brings up an idea, it would be an action item for them as a deliverable prior to the next meeting to either answer that resident satisfactorily or do the research and present it in their report at the next meeting. So it wouldn't be under old business if you're solving it and informing everybody at, in your report. It would just be.
So what you're proposing is that updates and old business and things that pertain both to the board and to the audience will be updated here at this meeting under old business and not on personal Facebook pages?
I'm not sure what you're asking, if you want to.
Well, I'm just asking, is this going to be, you're proposing that we add old business so that things can be updated here, and this is the official place where village residents get their information. So I'm just asking, is this where it would be updated, or is it going to be on individual Facebook pages that there can be confusion as to whether or not it's an official page with official information or personal views and opinions? Just asking.
I would share the same information at this meeting that I do. If you're asking me directly, is that a direct question to me personally, or?
I think it's a question that pertains to how we administer this.
I think I would ask the attorney what his advice would be on that, but also for me personally, if you're asking me directly, I share the same information here that I do when people ask me on the phone, when people ask me in private, and on the village, and on my personal Facebook page for my trustee position, which is separate from my personal page. There's a public page and a.
So you're saying that your trustee page is an official page?
My trustee
government page?
No.
You just said it was. You said it was separate from your.
It's my trustee, okay.
So my advice to you, and I hear what you're saying here, but my advice to you
So
in
we don't want to
context.
add old business, because I'll go ahead then, if this is the game we're gonna play. The things that have fallen by the wayside, items continue to be forgotten or go unaddressed. The following will be points of focus for me until they are addressed with clear, concise, written procedure or protocol. Inventory, required by the New York State Comptroller for all items over $150. I've asked for this to be addressed in June, September, and October of 2023, and February of 2024 on the record, and additionally in conversations. It is not difficult, it is required, and we do not have a comprehensive one at this time, to my knowledge. I will take the lead on compiling, because I know some of the departments do have a very good start on their inventory. If I have assurance that I will not be accused of stealing while doing it, as I was when trying to make our records retention schedule compliant. Formal acceptance of donated items. This came up in October 2024. To my surprise, I was unaware that the 2019 through 2023 board should have been accepting these items formally historically. This was supposed to be formally addressed on 11/19 and has yet to be. We have also discussed but not circled back on written procedure 4. Trustees to add items to the agenda. Residents to be recognized by the board. Annual policy review to be added to the agenda from January through April for 15 minutes per meeting, ensuring compliance, team building, and best practice. What dictates moving the meeting to the senior center for reasonable access and ADA compliance? Training requirements and law.
decorum expectations, the employee handbook, following up on resident concerns, like John Berger's questions about DOT and aquifer, Walt Pahooki's pedestrian and traffic safety concerns. Terry Gabrinowitz had a question. Sophia Romano had one about the training log and budget. The miscellaneous items would be requests that are made off the record that don't get followed up on, and some good measure items to update the public on normally, which will be under old business because they need updates, or grant updates, IT updates, and the Good Neighbor initiative that Mayor Henry wanted to initiate in April. Those would all be examples of things that we have talked about here with the public and have not circled back on and have not
And
solved.
there are also examples of things you've taken up on your Facebook page. So
On
all I'm
this
saying
report
is,
that
please hear me
everyone
out.
gets.
Please hear me out.
Let's.
If we are going to add old business, I don't want to waste our time as a board if it's going to be covered somewhere else. That's all I'm asking.
All right, let's move.
Where it should be covered is here. If it's not, then I also share it on my trustee page, which is separate from my personal page. And the
Okay.
fact that we're sitting here, we're not moving on because I'm not finished.
What are you talking about?
This is what we do, we move on. So I want to hear that you're not interested in putting old business on the agenda. Are you interested in doing that? Do you agree? Is anyone going to second it? Or are you not interested in putting old business on the agenda?
Can we table it?
Can I ask a question? So how do we get old, who establishes the agenda? Like you, the mayor's responsibility?
Mayor establishes the agenda.
So the mayor establishes the agenda. So if I had an old item of business that I wanted to add to the agenda, wouldn't I just go to the mayor and ask him to put it on the agenda?
We do.
No, I'm just asking the question.
It's
I don't know.
not, so where's that written protocol that I can speak to and I can point to when my items have consistently been requested and have not been put on the agenda?
Crickets.
Every time, let's please be honest. I have asked, I have the dates and I've asked them, I've asked them on the record at this meeting, in front of the public, on record, you can all go back to it multiple times, and it does not go on the agenda.
Call Tina.
So it's on Tina. Does Tina make the agenda or does the mayor make the agenda?
Mayor does, but if you call her, she will refer
So
to
you're
the mayor.
going to put a staff member in that position so that Tina can then report back to me now. Just like when I ask questions about things like employees and any other information that I'm entitled to, and you do not give me the information. I've talked about that on the record and have not yet gotten an answer for
Everybody
that.
here for a month, yet you get all the emails, and then you wait till the night of a meeting, and this all comes out.
Can you tell the truth, please?
Can I tell you?
Let's move on.
I'm not your child. I'm asking if you would like to add old business to the agenda or
The
not.
nerve of you, the nerve of you,
Yeah.
the nerve of you.
Can
Move
we
on.
table
Still didn't get an answer.
Can we table it for further discussion to establish a procedure whether it belongs on the
Well, we've
agenda?
had two numbers, you know what, actually, I'm still not done.
Were you ever
So-
treated with disrespect by this board?
Yes.
I
I wanted to be on the.
I
Would you like me to answer?
No.
No, you don't want me to answer.
Only hypotheticals in this room.
Because I can talk about when you didn't let me go on the
Randy, are you gonna go? I'm next.
Or that.
I'm not
Robert
done.
Price, but
Oh, you're still on
We
board.
decided, so we've decided we are not going to add, to be clear, old business to the agenda. Nobody wants to do that. And if you're asking to table it, I've asked to table very important, very serious safety discussions and things that will leave the village liable for different things that I have more questions on and have consistently been told no. The thing that you say, Mr. Mayor, every time is, I wanna handle this now. I don't wanna kick the can down the road. I want a decision. I don't wanna talk about it next time for way more serious things than what we're discussing right now. So I don't understand why we can't just answer the question. You don't wanna talk about old business, and we're not gonna give any clear indication to the taxpayers and the residents of this community when their
You know
questions will be
exactly how
answered.
to do it. You contact Tina, she puts it on the agenda.
And when I do, I've been told no, and when I
No,
do,
have you- will
ask
you-
formally
will you
on
tell the
record,
truth?
nothing
Will
is
you
on.
tell the truth?
Mhm.
You are not being told no.
Oh,
That is a lie.
I just,
Will.
I just.
Will, let's move on. Everything is going smooth and
Let's.
we are
You're
We don't hear from you for a whole month, now all of a sudden you.
Also not true.
Let's move
Might
on.
I ask that if you're told no, or any board member is told no, that you put that in an email so the rest of the board might be aware of this? And is it a hearsay?
There you go.
It's not hearsay. I can produce it all for you, and I've discussed it with our attorney because it's an ongoing issue. And you've all sat here at this table where I've asked for this, and then no one says it again. The agenda's too heavy. We have other things to discuss. It'll be on the next agenda, and it's not. It's not. Read my reports from April of 2023 till now. There's items on my report that have not been addressed, and I've requested it consistently. So, answer the question,
You
please.
send us derogatory, nasty emails.
Now you're just making up stuff.
They're right here.
We're gonna-
You send them out to everybody. and we
They're not a
should
motion.
go on.
Please
Go on, let's move on.
There's a motion. So, to be clear, there's no answer.
Let me address this to the board. I'll put a memo to the board
Okay.
with some recommendations. Okay?
I didn't hear you.
I said, I will prepare a memo to the board with some recommendations about these issues that you've raised. Okay?
Well, we have had this discussion.
I just said to you what I would do. If that's not sufficient, I apologize. But that's what I said I will do.
And once you
And I will
make,
copy the entire board on it, and we'll try and get some resolution on some of these things going forward.
but in the meantime, we're not gonna address old business.
The memo that I will prepare will address the topic of placing old business on the agenda and the way to do it.
Okay. So where are we on the handbook?
I'm
It's
ready to
been
go.
done.
I'm ready to go. I've asked if anybody else has any other comments. If they don't, I'll put together the latest version based on the comments I have, and we'll give it to the board. All right?
And why did we have a hiring,
Time out 1 second.
mhm.
If anyone, take a look at it this week. If anyone has any additional comments, get them to me by the end of this week or Monday if you can't do it this week. And I'll put together a version for the board to look at with the most recent changes. Okay?
Thank you.
I also have questions about the senior center, which should I wait for your report as the senior center liaison, Darlene?
I'm not making a report on the senior center. Joanne just made a report.
But you're the liaison.
Yes, I am.
Okay, so then I'm gonna direct my questions regarding the senior center to you directly, because when I asked
You
the
are not
department
gonna
head-
interrogate me, so
We're
don't
not
even
gonna
think.
do that.
When I asked, but I can email and ask the question and know for sure.
You can ask it in person anytime, yeah?
You're not gonna wait to come here and put on the show.
Okay.
Not tonight.
So, as when I asked the department head, at the last meeting, as myself and other board members regularly do with all of the department heads that are giving reports, Deputy Mayor Andelsek stated at a later date in front of staff members that it was bothersome to her. So my questions at this time about the senior center, to whomever would like to answer them, is what is the mission of the senior center? Do you have a mission?
What is the mission of the senior center?
Of our senior center, what is the mission?
You have to be told what the mission of the senior
I'm
center is.
asking if there is a mission.
Why does it have to have a mission? It's a senior center.
Okay.
Yeah.
Every business has a mission. And please clarify, can we please clarify which activities have instructors? Because my understanding is that some are self-provided group activities, so that should be clear and not listed as a lesson. And also to be made clear which activities need your own supplies and which are provided. These are questions that I'm getting from people that take a dial bus, that come expecting one thing. Maybe it needs to be made more clear, so I'd like to ask which are lessons.
This
with
is
an
what you
instructor,
do when
which
there's
are
not a meeting. This
self-guided.
is what we all do behind the scene. You find this.
Every time I ask a question. Senior center one will be presented to the taxpayers in addition to the newly created position and related payroll expenses. There's been multiple locker placements, doors added, and supply expenses that we did not use to incur. Who is overseeing the budget and what role is the director playing in the creation of and accountability to the operating budget? You asked me not to ask the police any questions and to ask you, and you would find out. But for the senior center, you're not going to give me any answers?
Not right now, no.
And so why don't we do those? I don't
This
want
doesn't have to be done in
to
front of people, it's to be done in
This is their village, they are the taxpayers, and they are the ones that are
With those questions, we
contributing.
answer at our next budget meeting.
And I've sent these emails
Now, this is-
multiple times, and they do not
This is a
get
show.
answered.
You can do
Nothing
this
on there is
anytime.
new, it all comes from these.
You've never
old
taken such
copies of
interest.
emails, Both of them.
Never. She's never been so interested. She's been working
All right,
until
no,
to your.
we're not starting a new year with screaming and yelling and stuff, that's enough of this. That's enough of this. I just wanna say there's a difference, there's a senior center, and then there's some other advisory committee we have nothing to do with. We are the Montgomery Village Senior Center, and that's that.
And so what,
Move on, let's go.
if you're making
Let's
that
go.
statement,
Move on.
what is the mission of the senior center?
It's not a
Provide
business.
services to the
That's not
public.
even the answer.
It's not a business.
That's not even worth answering, you can't figure that out yourself. Move on.
Okay, I'm sorry, please treat me with respect. I receive with respect.
No, you don't.
Yes,
Move
I
on.
do.
It's so clear and biased. It is so ridiculous.
What, I'm sorry, Kevin, what was that?
There's no respect, you're insulting all of us that you don't do anything.
I'm asking questions
I understand, but
repetitively
it's
because they
also-
don't get answered, Kevin.
I'm just, I'll make my statement.
Okay, so what role is the director playing in the creation of and accountability of the operating budget, as that is one of the responsibilities listed in the job description? Is the director's salary based on 30 hours per week, or is there overtime or additional payment for assisting in other activities? What is the cap for that budget? If this is something the director is not expected to be responsible for, we need to adopt a clear job description for this position. For bingo, what are the set prizes? How much is budgeted for each session of bingo? What is the break-even head count for participants? And communication, why is there a disconnect between the lunch program and the senior activities? Many seniors overlap both programs, the lunch and the senior activities, so both programs should be running with a unified message and tone. This is not happening. Not only is it palpable to the participants, but it has been addressed poorly and improperly in emails exchanged with this board and the director of the lunch program. What is the policy for sharing information and events at the center? It is also clearly outlined in the description of the activities leader that was hanging in the hallway, or the director, that a function of the position is to share information for additional services and activities, which would go along with the mission statement you just gave, that we're providing services for our seniors. I also received a formal complaint, which I shared with you. I don't know if that should be saved for executive session, Will.
I don't think any of us had time to review it.
EV chargers, there's a new grant available again this year, it's very similar to the grant from last year. I presented it to the board, I did a lot of research on it, we had multiple presentations on it, and I'm wondering if that's something the board would be interested in, moving forward on this year. And are we interested in putting in a letter of, intent to move forward with that program, given what we've learned about New York Forward and all the different ways that we should be investing in our infrastructure and in clean energy? Is that something that the board is now interested in moving towards, or are we still not interested in EV chargers?
I was not interested in EV chargers prior to this. They were $25,000 a piece to buy with village money.
Well, actually,
We were never buying them, it was a grant, but.
actually, the grant.
Grants cost money. Do you think grants just come from? Grants cost money.
I actually read the grant program, and I don't think we qualify for it anyway, Randy.
Why?
Well, according to the map that they had listed, it looked like they listed, you need to be along a corridor, along 84, actually, it was 84,
So we
17.
did last year
I
because
don't
of the
know if it-
demographics.
okay.
I don't know that we
I'm
did,
just-
but.
I'm just saying that it's just different this year, because I didn't look at it last year, okay? But I looked at the criteria, and we don't meet the criteria for the grant.
Okay.
That's what I saw.
Are you interested in me getting clarification on whether we
Also, I'd
do or
like
not?
to point out too, that the minimum amount of EV chargers that you would need to apply for the grant would be 4.
Yes,
So
that's
that
what
would
we
be
were looking
4
at.
spots
Yep.
that we would take up in our municipal lot
Mhm.
for EV charging.
I'm not
cars.
pushing it, I'm asking if we're interested in it. It's
I'm
something that
not,
came
I'm not
to
saying you are saying that, I'm just telling you that there's 4, the criteria is 4.
I understand, so everything that we researched last year is applicable except for the gray area of whether or not we are within that.
But there's
Outline
many,
or not.
there's many grants that we don't qualify for, certain things we don't qualify for, and that was just one of my research, because you sent us an email on it.
Yeah, so are we interested in
I
clarifying
think
whether we
people have to
qualify for it?
understand about grants. People believe that grants come from nothing. Okay, the $4.5 million, that, we did that 3 times, that's $25,000 each application. The $185,000 for the senior center improvement was $15,000 each time the grant was applied for. So, you have to pay money to get this, they just don't give it to you.
We still have the contract with Millennium, right?
Yes.
So is it worth having a conversation with Millennium first to see if we're even in the qualification zone before we do anything?
Well, yes,
Okay.
but if
So
we're not interested and we're gonna shoot it down, I'm not gonna do any more research at all for it.
It's really just a quick question to Millennium whether this village would be eligible.
Okay,
That's all
so
I'm
that would be
asking.
an action item for me to report back to the board. They
Also,
say yes.
also, I think Randy's asking too, is the village board willing to give up 4 spots in their municipal parking lot for 4 EV chargers? And, I mean, if you go to other municipalities that have these, I mean, municipalities you've been to, like, I went to Florida, and during Florida Fest, and there was 4, 2 in one lot, 2 in another, and no one was parked in them.
Yeah,
But we couldn't
yeah,
find
yeah.
any place else to park in the whole village.
And if you've been keeping up with current events, they can't rent out EVs. They can't rent them out at all.
And I understand it's a future, but I think most people, correct me if I'm wrong, I think most people do charge their EV cars at home. And if it does promote more business downtown, that's a plus. But I'm not
That's
so
the only
sure,
reason to put 'em in.
but I'm not so sure taking 4 spots out of a municipal lot is such a good idea. And I don't think it helps the business owners at all, because we have a parking problem in the village. And that's come very clear in the New York Forward grant process as well.
And what's happened is regular gas vehicles, they're
That's
parking
mine.
in the EV, they're parking in the EV spots because they can't find them.
Okay, so moving on to the next one that was available, did you look at the local government efficiency grant?
I did not, but I did see that they increased the amount.
Okay, so can we get together on that and decide whether we're gonna put in a letter of intent for that this week?
I wouldn't mind reviewing it. I'll review it again.
Okay.
I don't mind. I don't mind reviewing it.
And the New York State Empire State Development Connect All Deployment Program.
That, we don't qualify for that either.
Okay,
I don't
you're
believe.
sure?
I'm pretty
Well,
sure.
if I'm gonna
because
call
we're in a-
Millennium about that, I'll ask them.
You can ask them, but I think it's not, because we're not in a rural enough area. We have multiple ways of getting our internet. We have, Frontier, we have Spectrum, we have towers from Verizon and all the other ones. I don't think so. I read the same grant. I don't think we qualify for it either.
Okay, I mean, I was surprised when we qualified for the EV last year because it was for like economically disadvantaged communities.
Yeah.
I was surprised. So-
Again, I don't know a lot about it, but I read the criteria on it. I clicked on it, I read it, I looked at the map, I looked at all of it today. So I printed out something there and I just, just wanted to bring it up.
Okay. And then the other question I had was why was the agenda item removed about hiring Buddy?
Buddy Nelson, again, this goes back to me being serious about this, the Weaver Street project over there, okay? Buddy Nelson, with Jake's permission, because I don't cut people's throats here, would be hired back at maximum of $35,000 a year as my advisor on things here. Specifically, the aquifer over there, and a lot of other things. The guy's got a wealth of knowledge. And if we could hire this guy back for $35,000 a year, that's the maximum a state employee can make coming back to a municipality. I think he's worth it. We wouldn't have to pay for his medical, we wouldn't have to pay for his insurance. It's a smart thing, because if we didn't have somebody with his knowledge, we'd pay a fortune to all these advisory places. And I would hire him back. He said he's running for county legislature.
Mr. Mayor, I think if we're talking, if we're gonna go further into this,
Okay.
this is a board discussion, it should be an executive.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So
She asked me the
keeping it high
question, so I
level
was saying.
without going into details, and we can discuss the
He
rest of the
withdrew
executive
this, he
session.
withdrew it, he asked to be
Yeah.
removed from the map, from
Well,
the
then
agenda.
can I say that he's not doing it?
Yeah.
He's not gonna do it until he's speaking on a contractual basis.
At this time,
That's
that's
it.
it isn't going forward.
Is that something we would be looking to hire for in general, or is that specific to Buddy because he has the historical knowledge?
Again,
Oh,
let's just leave it the way it is, so it can be discussed in executive if there's anything further.
Okay. And finally, I'd like to make a motion to add 15 minutes of policy review to the agenda from the January 1st meeting to the reorg meeting at the beginning of April, as discussed 2 meetings ago, so that we can make sure everything is up to date.
We've all been showing up, and I thought that was approved.
It has to be on the agenda, because it's.
Okay, then put it on the agenda, put it on the agenda. Next meeting, we'll come in.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear part of it.
This was come in 15 minutes early, we'll talk.
We can't do come in 15 minutes early back there, it has to be in the public meeting.
Yeah, what's that mean? We're okay with it, but you should have put it on the agenda then.
Annual policy review for 15 minutes from January, from the first of the year until the reorg meeting, so everything's up to date and there's nothing that is falling by the wayside that's no longer compliant, the way all of the.
You were for it, you should have had it put on the agenda.
I'd like to have the opportunity to understand more about that and what's involved before I
All right. Is that it?
So we're,
involved in the motion.
so no, we don't have a second for the motion.
I didn't hear,
The mayor has to call, the mayor has to
Yeah,
ask for a
a
motion.
motion to do
No,
this.
anybody can call.
Yeah, the motion, but he has to call for
Okay.
This is good.
So there's a motion that you're making to dedicate 15 minutes, stop me when I misspeak.
January 1.
Before or after? Whichever's before or after, whichever, I mean, these guys come home late from work, we just decide before or after.
In the agenda for each meeting, there will be a section of the meeting up to 15 minutes dedicated to existing policy review to see what, if anything, needs to be updated or modified at each meeting between now and the reorganization when that takes place later in the year. Is that your motion?
That is my motion.
Okay, Mayor, if you can call for a second.
Second on this?
I'd like to make, I'd like to have a discussion on it though.
Second is for discussion.
Second for discussion. So what, the policies you're talking about are the village, they're talking about the village the policies, so it could be planning, zoning, ethics.
Yeah, so it's best practice.
Okay, so under the best practice, who is the one responsible to set the agenda for the 15-minute period for policy review?
So my understanding from speaking with other municipalities is they literally start from the front of the policy book, and then they just go all the way straight through. Some, everybody is in agreement, you know, in 5 seconds, doesn't need. Some are very clear, like a sexual harassment policy or a cybersecurity
Are there
policy, are
policies
consistently
in,
updated.
are there policies in the book that people feel that they need to be updated?
We have 4 currently that are not in compliance, that have been adopted officially, that are not updated.
So can we just do a work session instead of having this at 15 minutes?
It can be a separate work session if the board wants to pull a special.
Yeah, that way we don't have to do 15 minutes every time.
That's fine. We can do that.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah, I
you gotta do a
think
work
my
session.
concern is just that we didn't, we do an awful lot of work before, in between the meetings.
You're right.
I think that's one of the things that I think people lose track of, and we do a lot of things. It's just that I want to make sure that we are clear about what we're going to discuss that night in that 15-minute window.
Yes, like you would know where we leave off, because it's my understanding in discussing with other municipalities is it's a 15-minute window. You get as far as you can, sometimes you get through the whole book, sometimes you get through 2 pages, depending on what the policy is and what the updates are. It obviously gets easier and easier every year, but it ensures by the reorg meeting that everything is compliant and up to date with all the newest policy and procedure and best practice.
So when the new policy needs to be updated, then it's voted on by the board to make the change?
Once it's formalized.
Do you do that every time we have a board
No.
meeting for 15 minutes, we're gonna change something, or do you do it all at
No,
once?
you just get through if we get through all our entire policy book, the first 15-minute section at the first meeting, then we're done
Well,
until
I'm
next
just
year.
asking, but I don't know.
Well,
I'm
then
sorry.
we
Yeah.
only have 4 things to update, let's just have a work session. That way we don't have to have 15 minutes every time getting there early. And then if we see we're falling apart, falling back on something else, we'll do another work session. That's better than coming to 15 minutes, because I was here for a good portion of the day, you were here all the time. So 15 minutes means a lot. When your wife's working full-time, you come home, you eat dinner, and you run out. So I'd rather do a work session, get it out of the way. We only have 4 things here with the work
Well, to
session.
be clear, it's 4 things that we know are not compliant. We, as a board, I don't know if you had this practice at all when former Mayor Breccia was in charge. Did you as a board ever do policy review, or have, like, some of them I don't think have been reviewed in many
Okay,
years.
so then we'll do work sessions, and we'll do it that way, instead of having to guarantee us meeting in 15 minutes. Because 15 minutes is gonna leave the 20 minutes, the meetings aren't gonna start at 7:30, they're gonna start at 8:30. So I'd rather that, I'd rather have work sessions that way. That makes more sense, instead of everybody getting here 15 minutes early.
My concern, Mayor Mike, would also be, what if we can't cover it in 15 minutes, then it goes into the next meeting, and we've got to rehash where we were. I think there's pros and cons to both ways of approaching it, but I think if we've got a heavy workload now, I would be in favor of a work session.
Yeah.
It would also give us an idea to see what's involved in updating this policy, what's involved, and then make a decision if it needs to become a regular feature. So I think it.
Yeah, I like that, I like that.
Maybe we can knock it out in one meeting.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
So,
Okay.
Right, where do we stand? Make a motion to do that?
yeah, why don't we, everybody take out their calendar and why don't we schedule it now? Because I'm gonna need to be here.
Oh, so that's,
So,
yeah.
do you wanna do that? You wanna
Yes.
schedule a work session now?
Yeah.
Okay. So, who's,
Do we need a motion, or?
well,
Well, I got
We're gonna make the motion, but we're gonna add the date in.
That was the day first.
what days, everybody take a look at their calendar, see when they can be here, and say, I don't know, 6:30, some evening, and start and do a couple hours.
Are you starting in February? Anybody good on, I don't know, I'm open, I'm pretty much open. I can't, no good on Monday, so.
I turn mine off to the receipt so they don't ring one.
So you can use mine.
February 11th is Tuesday.
February 11th?
Tuesday.
Randy, you
That
okay?
works, that's good for
I'm
me.
certainly not gonna dictate when it is, if everyone's going to
No,
come
we're
out, make
asking.
it work.
If you're clear, are you clear that evening?
Yeah.
So
Okay.
February 11th is our regular meeting, right?
No,
No.
the 4th and the
What if we
18th.
do it an hour before? our meeting?
You don't wanna come 15 minutes early because you're missing dinner with your wife who works full time.
An hour, we have an hour. If we come at 6:30, that way you're already here, okay?
I just made a suggestion. Do whatever day you want.
I'd rather
So you wanna
do it before a meeting, that way we have an hour. We can do a couple, we might knock the whole thing off in an hour. I'm gonna take a course here.
So, you want to do the 4th, Tuesday, February 4th at 6:30?
Yeah,
So instead of trustee Piccirillo's prior motion, amend the motion to have a special work session commencing at 6:30 on Tuesday, February 4th, for the purpose of reviewing existing policies and updating them as necessary, and any other lawful business of the day.
yeah.
I'll make that motion, with the understanding that part of that is we evaluate the need going forward, as to whether or not it becomes a regular part of the meeting or
Yeah.
a future work session.
Yeah, and that, of course, effective.
This will be a special
Nothing
work
against what
session.
you, nothing against what you charge, Will, but if we did it on a separate thing, you'd be from portal to portal and all that stuff. Here, you're already here before a meeting, so it doesn't. I'd say make a motion. Second, all in favor?
Aye.
6:30 on the 4th.
Yeah,
Tina, I'll get you in this.
okay.
Who's attending the OCTAV training in February, annual OCTAV training?
Which meeting?
The Orange County Towns and Villages annual meeting in New York City.
Oh, I'm going to that.
Is it open for anyone to go?
I don't know. I'm going.
Yeah, I think the window's closing pretty soon on that too, because that weekend is Valentine's Day weekend, and they mentioned that the hotel was.
This needs to be discussed in executive, I don't want to go further on here.
The training of municipal officials does not need to be discussed. And I also requested approval for NICOM training, which is February 2nd and 3rd. I'm not a football fan, I believe that is the Super Bowl Sunday, and have not received an answer. I requested, is it the 9th? I made the request in November, I have not received an answer on that.
Have you attended the training that this board recommended that you go to for what you were found for on the investigation? Have you attended that training?
What training is that?
Sensitivity training?
Has anyone here attended
You attended
sensitivity
it?
training? training?
Have you attended it?
Are you
It
serious?
wasn't
investigation-
required.
It was, the board came down with that.
The board didn't come down with that. It was I can't even, do you really want to
I don't
start
think
this
this is
discussion?
funny, I really don't think this is funny.
I don't think it's funny that you spent $38,000.
Yeah.
$27,000.
Plus what Will and I went through all the invoices. And I also saw that it was the person that
This needs to
requested it
stop.
and the primary witness were the people that funded your campaign. And you, so for political reasons, which is actually a removable
Randy, can we-
offense, you
You know,
use
this,
taxpayer dollars. So you're open the
we're really
door.
pushing it here.
What are you gonna do?
Hey, Will, can you do something about this, Will? Take a job.
I cannot
Sorry.
do this, okay? You have put this board in a position where I had two ways to go. Sweep this, don't be next to me. Sweeping this under the table or having it referred. I checked numerous places to go here on this. You had to be investigated.
And what
Just
the
like-
investigator
are you letting
found
me
was there
talk
was
or you gonna
no
talk?
conflict of interest,
Are you
and that I
letting me
should
talk?
do the same training that everyone on this board should do. So has everyone done it? Have you put something
If I had
together?
a bad police career, believe me, this would come out and I would have to be investigated. Nobody did this, and to come out and say, the person who donated to my political campaign, I did not know the man.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I did not know the man, and I could have taken that receipt. That was
I'm gonna
given to us.
repeat the first thing I
No,
said.
no, this is, I am not going this route.
Tell the truth.
Let's stop it right here. I fear the day that a person of color, I fear the day that a person of color comes in here and wants something done and sees what we're going to do. Let's move on. Let's move
Can you
on.
repeat that?
Let's move on.
Randy, are you done with your report so I can start mine?
Move on. Move on.
Oh, okay, let me
Move
check.
on. To think that I would go ahead and conduct
So,
an
just to be clear, that
I think I would not conduct an
so I
investigation
can't go to
against
the
somebody.
NICOM training.
Move on.
So I
Move on.
can't, I'm not going to the NICOM training in February. Yes,
Move
no?
on.
Moving on. Again,
Your
this is
turn.
every time I speak, moving on. Okay,
Um,
I know pretty much.
Mike,
Is this for real? Is this happening? Am I the
Yes.
only one sitting here?
I ask myself that every meeting.
People watch this on TV and then.
And they're sad. And
Yeah,
it's
they're sad.
They are
They're
sad.
completely torn
And that's
apart.
why
The
Steve
sense of
Kirsch is
community
upset.
in a village that had a sense of community for everyone's lifetime. There's 3, 4, 5, 6 generations of people that have lived here because of the sense of community. And in 6 months, you have torn that apart.
Yes. Oh my God.
The statements that you have made.
Mike, let me.
Are just unbelievable. What's going on?
So, we're not gonna add old business, we're not gonna let me go to training, we're gonna move on, we're gonna say, you need to ask me offline and in private, but then mock me in
When-
public and say that
When
you
the
do
findings
answer
came
my
out,
email.
this board had the option of proof plans. What I should have demanded, or I should have said, was you need to resign from this board.
But you
with
had no
recommendation.
legal standing to do that.
Sure.
Can you release the
Let's go.
report?
Good. Move on.
You're right, right? You're right.
Into a safe shade. Yeah.
Everybody okay? All right, so
Move on.
this is much more positive stuff here, so I'm not gonna get into the drama at the end. As many of you have seen, is the new website's up and running now. I'd like to thank all those who contributed to that, our board members and our department heads who all did that, added input for that. Very happy with the update, and I think it's more user-friendly than the original one, and it's ADA compliant, so I'm pretty happy with it. If you do see something wrong, misspelling, just please hit the info button and let us know, or call the village office. Our phone system update, Will gave us the go-ahead to sign the contracts, we did sign those. We had a meeting today with Tina and I had a meeting with the ITC people about doing a migration over to the new phone system, so we're working on that. New York Forward updates, I don't have any at this time, so I just wanted to point that out. Mark Pachowski, right?
Palczewski.
Palczewski, okay, you brought up
something about a CEA, and we talked a little bit about it too, and I did some research on that, and I think that the wellheads really do meet the criteria for a CEA.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's a sensitive area that could adversely affect our water supply and the surrounding areas. So I appreciate you bringing that up, and I did a little bit more, work on that as well. And I asked our attorney, Will, to.
Can I just say one thing, Kevin? Really, can I say
No,
one
if
thing?
you can, if you can just give me after the meeting, I'll talk
I
to you.
do, okay,
I appreciate it.
no problem.
Planning board updates, the KSH meeting, it was adjourned to next month. The final noise analysis report has been produced by the noise consultancy and is available online on our website. So, and that's another thing too, is all our documents, we're trying to get them all up on E-code 360, so you can actually go in and search for them. It makes it a lot easier to find them. So that noise report is there for anyone who wants to look at it. Also, our water consultant, Amy, directed our secretary to send it up to the E-code 360 as well, so that water report is up on there as well. Now, one of the things in the water report that I thought was interesting, and this is on the web too, but it's alarming. It says the greatest concern is attributed to the 4 stormwater detention ponds associated with the proposed stormwater management areas. Stormwater management plans and features reduce the potential for significant impacts to underlying groundwater and aquifers, and in most cases, however, these features do not have the ability to treat and reduce the impacts of salt applied to associated parking lots and sidewalks. Sand and gravel aquifers are most susceptible to contamination, and from a non-point or point source contamination because of the same hydrologic characteristics that cause these aquifers to be favorable aquifers for development of large-scale regional water supplies. So, again, I think I have full confidence in our planning board who's going to look into the water, the aquifer, and whatever else you do for the KSH project. I have full confidence that you'll be able to do that as a planning board. Traffic study. Or truck bypass, sorry. I attended a meeting at the town of Montgomery, where the planning board chairman, the supervisor, and engineer called for a meeting to discuss traffic concerns for projects that were recently approved. They were concerned with projects that were approved on 17K 208, 211, 416 Ely Town Road. Now, as a village trustee attending this meeting, my representation is to the village. So when I certainly understand that any kind of traffic impact that's happening in the town is going to directly affect our village. But I also know that we work hard, well, Linda worked hard at it too, to get money allocated so we can do a traffic study on 416, 211, and Dunn Road. And I didn't want any of the money that was dedicated for that intersection to be used for other traffic studies. So I think what they did was, I talked with Alan Shorenson, and I expressed that concern on increased traffic, but more specifically, we're trying to get the tractor trailer traffic out of the village. So again, that was the whole emphasis of that traffic study through the Orange County Traffic Council. Alan agreed with me, and he wrote me this back. He said, we are presently working on a UPWP, which is Unified Planning Work Program update, and we'll present it to the Orange County Transportation Council on January 16th. Hopefully this will be adopted by March 1st, 2025, and shortly after we can focus on issuing an RFP. We are simply very short-staffed. We're doing our best to keep things moving. Good news is the funding will be in place. So that's good news for us that we have that in place with the truck bypass. The water permits for the Holt well, number 6. So we're waiting for final approval. Our New York State Department of Health finally sent the final approval to our engineer. The engineering report and plans for connection of the Holt well number 6 to the existing Holt well field treatment system in the village of Montgomery are hereby approved with conditions noted below. The project includes installation of a submersible well pump, installation of a 6-inch raw water line from the new well to the Holt well field pump house, and connection to the raw water piping for the existing treatment center. So at this time, our engineers told us, Jake, you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, but at this time, the Orange County Department of Health should not require anything from us, other than a sign off, all the, sign off sheets at the end. So we should be getting a certification letter once that goes on. Do you have any idea when you're gonna finish the rest of that?
Well, I was trying to get it done before the weather. Unfortunately, we got a little bit more piping to do. If we get a warm spell and the ground thaws out, then I am gonna get break to work on it. So I'm hoping at the latest, end of April.
Well, that was our Christmas present.
Yeah.
We got that letter from
Yeah,
the DOH, so
exactly.
we were very happy about that. Again, we talked about the moratorium updates. I think, Ms. Tipton, you brought up the fact that we need the short and long-term goals. And I reread the local law, and it does say that we should have, address the long-term, so the short-term and long-term. And I'm working with our engineer and our WSP, who's part of that $1,900 that we just allocated. And we're gonna work on those long-term plans, so we can lift this moratorium.
I have
Pro housing
a
update.
question when you're done.
We applied to pro housing. Tina and her staff are working on the permit statistics, from the building permits, how many apartments have been created. Langton Tully has done all the zoning updates, or zoning in the documentation, so that will also be uploaded soon. So that's all I have for now.
Thank you, Kevin. You ready?
I don't have nearly as much, but I do have one I feel is important, as there's still a need for it. I'd like to ask to be put on the agenda, meeting rules. I'll get those out. I've got the sample ones you put out. I'd like to consider that at the next meeting, if we can make sure that's on the agenda.
Absolutely.
And I just had one question. I know Kevin and I, or Member Canaro and I,
You have to email
excuse me, Member Canaro and I attended a meeting with the town back in, I think, early December regarding the IMA, municipal sewer. Do we need to get that, bring that back in the site, or have a meeting, a discussion, or where do we stand?
We have scheduled a meeting on the 15th at 4 o'clock
Okay.
with our attorney, and Randy, I'll double check my email to be sure that you got it.
I apologize if I missed it.
I think it was sent, I didn't send it, it was sent to me. And I noticed your name on it, so nobody's intentionally leaving anybody out, so I don't want anybody to, point fingers like that. So, I don't know.
And that's all I've got.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So if you're gonna be taking the lead on the truck bypass project, I did also talk to you in the last call we had, and I believe Darlene and possibly Mike was on it, along with Buddy, Jake, and I think Joe, from the police department. And we were talking about an access highway, and that there is a difference between trailers of, I think 43, 45, 53. I'm not right on those numbers, but there is a difference, and we do not have to have them, allow them on the roads. The issue was doing site training with the police department. So I did ask the police department to come up with some sort of ballpark price for how much it would cost to have everyone come in for that amount of time. I'm sure that we can get some of our Neelytown Road business community members to bring down trucks to look at, so that they can do some site training. So I think that's something that's a short-term, a short-term win. It's something. It's not everything. It's not, a successful long-term truck bypass, but it's something that we can do for now that will change, and I think that that should be a priority. So I would love to work on that with you as well. And why, is this something that should be, as far as the hydrogeology report, is this something that should have really been looked at when we did our comprehensive plan update? When we're going forward, why didn't we not have a plan before? And what part of our planning board, zoning board, comprehensive plan update should plans like this be?
I have no idea. I think that the engineer took a hard look at the data for this particular project, and it just came up, from my understanding. You're asking why there was a delay? I can't answer
No, I'm
that
asking why we didn't have a plan before, and why we didn't take the aquifer into consideration before, and should that have been something that we did during the comprehensive plan update? Is that a planning board issue, a zoning board issue? You're the one with the expertise, so I'm asking a real question.
I don't really believe it's part of the comprehensive plan, aquifer report. I think it should be, an engineering, it's an engineering thing.
If we had to pay for an engineering report or an assessment on every parcel, as part of a comprehensive plan, it would be prohibitively expensive, wouldn't it?
No, but concentrating on the aquifer recharge area that we know, and the CAC has talked to us multiple times about being there, I
Well,
mean,
I think in the comprehensive plan, the aquifer doesn't necessarily come up, it's more the zoning and the layout. If it's a known issue, yes, but this one's unknown, correct?
Yeah, and if an applicant does make, you know, an application to the village, they want to build something, they're going to be subjected to, you know, environmental assessment. So that, and in environmental assessment, it should come up.
Yeah.
So I don't know, I have to review the environmental assessment, but again, it's why we hire engineers.
Well, I'd like to hit on the Route 211 bypass thing here. I brought this up about 2 years ago, maybe almost 3 years ago now. Steve Brusher had me form a committee. I had Paul Groton, village resident, Tom Steve, myself. We met out in Orange County about getting signs here. We got a sign over on 416, says commercial vehicles strictly enforced and violations. I made a phone call. I don't care who says what. I made a phone call to people over in Medline, and they put the sign at the bottom that said, "Do not turn right, turn left." What? I made the phone call on that. I met a person at a party. At a Teamster party, and it was a call and it was done. Okay, no matter what anybody says, it was a phone call, it was done. Then over here to the village, we have signs. We could not, I got this speed sign here that was done, and we got signs here that say, commercial vehicle violations strictly enforced. We got the line over here at 17K and 211 moved back for the turning. Then they contacted the Department of the New York State Department of Transportation in Poughkeepsie. The guy's long retired. I explained this before the meeting, I explained this to Steve. He told me, he says, I got a couple of months to retire, so I'm gonna tell you what could happen down there. He says, you guys know this is Union Street. We know it is 211. He said, what they plan to do is take Albany Post Road, take these buildings by eminent domain, and make Albany Post Road a new bridge right across Union Street to 211. And he said, that's what they plan to do. And he told me, if you poke the bear too much, they have the right to eliminate on-street parking here on 211 and increase the speed, except for the elementary school. I said this before, and I said, whoa, that's scary, that's above me. So then this bypass came by, and I'm all for it. So I want to let you know that we have not been sitting back doing nothing on this. We have been moving along on this. Again, safety is the biggest thing here. We have a village where sidewalks go all the way down to a certain spot, and then you run for your life on Goodwill Road till they pick up on the other side. So I am big on this. I also did my own thing, counting traffic going by. Goodwill Road has as much traffic going by on it than Route 211 as much traffic. What's being done for Goodwill Road? My neighbors on Goodwill Road are saying, where's our speed bumps? We have stop signs. It's the new 17K. People are coming from ShopRite. They're taking a shortcut in through Goodwill Road. We don't have any sidewalks. From Lakeside, you run for your life, you go to the post office, then you go across the street, then you make it to the railroad tracks. Why aren't we doing anything about that? So Union Street, 211, over here, there's a lot of situations. You know, people bought houses on Goodwill Road. They knew the traffic's going to go through. They didn't know it was going to be increased this much, but it is. So let's share the wealth here. 211, and where's the bypass for the people on Goodwill Road? And then instead they're becoming a bypass. Instead of people going down 17K, they're going through Goodwill Road. So that's what I have to say about that. We slowed it down with stop signs. That's it. Go ahead.
Just wanted to acknowledge too, I mean, we hear it and we all live in the village, we all like to have less traffic. Like I've said it before, how many times have you been at that light trying to get through in the morning when it only lets 3 cars through, and you find yourself muttering, doesn't this guy in front of me have somewhere to be, he's in my way, and you gotta realize the guy behind you is saying the same thing about you, so we're all in together. But we are lucky that we do have such good corporate neighbors, both in Medline and all of the people that are out that way, whether it's, negotiated or just an awareness on their part, because when was the last time you were stuck behind a Medline truck? I've never been stuck behind a Medline truck, nor have I seen the traffic or has it impeded my travel anywhere. And there's quite a few warehouses over there, so everybody acknowledging there's a traffic issue, we need to. But I think we also need to acknowledge that they've been good corporate neighbors and they've helped us avoid much worse traffic downtown. But that's all I got to say on that.
Can we just circle back to the deadline thing? Does that need to be approved or does it not need to be approved? We talked about it a couple times, so then that needs to be added to the agenda as well. We're not ready to approve it now, but you have all the information for it. You do, I put it in, before the holidays when we spoke. It's in there.
Was there an attachment?
No, it was in there.
I'll have to go back and look, I don't know.
Okay.
That's fine.
Okay, request to meet with the board.
You gotta do that first.
Events, January 20th, village offices are closed and observance for Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Again, that's when St. Mary's is having their blood drive, so not that I'm pushing it, but I'm pushing. Request to meet with the board. 3 minutes, please. 3 minutes. Stacy Hillman, you're up, please.
Hi. Stacy Hillman on East Searsville Road, Montgomery. Speaking of old business, at the November 19th meeting, this is more of a statement too, by the way. I just want it on the record. At the November 19th meeting, I was on the agenda. I was following up on the advisory board situation and the $134,000 that they took with them when they left. I was concerned because that money was given to them through municipalities using taxpayers' money with the sole understanding that it was given to them with the sole purpose of spending it on the seniors, whether through trips, programs, etc. As we now know, that was not entirely the case. I specifically asked how we were handling the situation and if there was anything we could possibly do to get some of it back so it could be used for its intended purpose. I was told at that meeting by Will, the village attorney, respectfully, that's not something I'm going to discuss right now. That's something that is between the board and myself. Fine, no problem. Then I asked if there would be any future follow-up and was basically given the same answer. It was told to me that the matter was between him and the board, and if there was something to be made public, it would be. That said, you can imagine, given those answers, my surprise that 2 weeks later, on December 3rd, a trustee on this board publicly posted on behalf of this village on her Village of Montgomery trustee Facebook page, a page that I brought up in a long time ago meeting, definitely insinuates it's official and that it was going to be a problem, and now it is. She put up an entire explanation defending the advisory board and the money that was left in their checkbook that they so graciously took with them. I've given you, I have a copy, I will leave you with that. You'll see the entire breakdown explaining the excess of money that they had and how it had accumulated through the years. I want to know if this info that Trustee Piccarello posted was accurate, because if it is, she is in violation of Ethics Code 2-3, Section B, which reads, no officer or employee of this village shall disclose confidential information acquired by him or her in the course of his or her official duties or use such information to further his or personal interest or the private interest of others. If it's not accurate and her information wasn't accurate, she's still in violation. Then she is a sitting trustee who is intentionally putting out false information on a subject that was to remain confidential, not to mention doing so on behalf and in the name of this village. Since when does this village support freelance trusteeism, especially when it is in the private interest of others? I want to know what course of action will be taken to address her misconduct. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, Don Berger, please state your name and address for the record, please.
Don Berger, 158.
One second. Thank you.
Don Berger, 158 Warriors Edge. I'm gonna start off with the aquifer. I wanna thank Amy and the planning board for all the hard work they've done this past year, because if not for them and residents, speaking on these matters, these, things would not have gotten done, and I feel we're at a good point right now. And I also wanna thank the board tonight for, actually talking about the aquifer and the problems that exist with the aquifer. But more importantly, this is the report, and I'm going to read the last sentence in the first paragraph. It is my understanding that there have been public comments regarding concerns of the impact of water quality of the underlying aquifer. The same aquifer the village water supply wells are completed in. In my opinion, these concerns have merit. I have come to this board for over 3 years, and I have asked every member of this board to read this document. None of you did. Because if you read this document, we wouldn't be here today about the aquifer. You failed to read this document, which is distressing to me. I had other studies, but we won't get into that because I'm talking about the aquifer. The other thing is that we're in our third moratorium right now for this water moratorium. What has been done during this moratorium? There was supposed to be a committee set up last January of 2024. Where's that committee? Never set up. You know, again, I'm glad you guys are now talking about it, but we're always late. We're never proactive in getting these things done when residents have warned you guys of this problem. I warned you back in December of this on the public hearing for the water moratorium. I talked to you, Mike, about it. And you took the opinion of the attorney over us. I don't understand that. You have good people out here, very smart people. We have engineers out here. We have all that stuff within my group. I'm going to end it with that with the aquifer because I'm really kind of disgusted because we've done nothing about it. I don't want to get into the past chairman and some of the things that he did during the process. But, Randy, what you're talking about, I'm glad you brought it up. I wish this board would recognize RPM for once. It was RPM who negotiated with Medline not to have those trucks come through this village. It's been RPM at all the town board meetings and town planning board meetings that talked to every new application on Millitown Road about not sending trucks through here and come into an agreement with them. RPM. And what you said about signs, I can't even say the words, Mike, but you're full of crap.
You're telling me that I didn't make a phone call and to...
RPM did that.
You're telling me I didn't do it?
Look it up.
Can I, for the record, also state, Don Berger, you've said some rather reprehensible things on RPM, so while you may have done some good, you've completely discredited.
Show me.
You took them down.
Show me them. I laid down nothing.
You took them down.
I take down nothing.
I'm not going any further. You know, you can say what you want, but the rest of us know.
Do as I say, not as I
Next
do.
one up is Rob Salvin.
I think it's a nervous temporary. You
Please keep it down.
Oh my God. Yeah. Whoa. Conversation with me outside here.
Okay, for the past several months, much has been said by some about the employee handbook. I've distributed to the board what I'm calling the village handbook. It's the basis of all that defines what being a village is. It's called village law. It's section 400, if anyone wants to look it up, New York Village Law. Article 4 is titled Powers, Duties, and Compensation of Officers. If you turn to Article 4, it's broken down into sections. The individual titles are Mayor, Clerk, Treasurer, and Village Justice. Notice there is no section describing the powers and duties of a trustee. That is because village law does not provide any powers or duties to a trustee as a standalone lone wolf individual. The law does provide a ton of powers and duties to the Board of Trustees, but none to a trustee. Last month, there was an exchange between Mayor Hemberry and a trustee who shall remain nameless about receiving reports from the police department. The mayor's position was that the board should not be given all that information. There is no reason for it. The trustee's position was that it used to be provided, why not anymore, and how can I go to the police and get it? There are only 3 reasons for someone to want any reports, data, or information from the police or any other village department. It is either to conduct oversight, satisfy personal curiosity, or to engage in corruption. If we turn to section 400 mayor, number 1 says, it shall be the responsibility of the mayor, letter E, to exercise supervision over the conduct of police and other subordinate officers in the village. So, a trustee is not empowered or have a duty to conduct oversight over the police department or any other department. All village employees are subordinate to the mayor. A trustee has 0 subordinates. If a trustee wants any village records, reports, or information, they need to fill out a FOIL request like everyone else does. The law does not provide a trustee with any special privilege to access to government records. If it does, show me where it comes from, because it is not from New York State village law. Submitting a FOIL request is a guardrail against corruption. The Board of Trustees, when taking up an issue after an affirmative vote of the majority to do so, could obviously require records, reports, and information to conduct their lawful business. In that circumstance, the board should receive those necessary records from the proper departments, and those records should be requested by the mayor and then distributed to the entire board. If anyone is of the opinion that powers and duties of the Board of Trustees confers the same powers and duties onto an individual trustee, please tell me which of the board powers and duties a trustee can conduct on their own. The answer is none of them. The bottom line is that a trustee has no powers or duties outside of participation with the rest of the board on matters before them. Thank you.
Make a motion to adjourn? Second? Second. All in favor?
No executive session? I thought we were talking about this, and we were talking about money, and we were about, okay. I mean, I don't want to.